There are 5 stars in the constellation Reticulum. We come from 2 of them. A supernova implosion occurred eons ago, with implications cataclysmic in proportion. A similar implosion has been observed by human astronomers in recent months. We too observed its movement. Come, we will be meeting friends shortly. Friends? Excuse me? We walked out of the room and proceeded back to the control center. Another occupant walked past us in the opposite direction. He seemed to be going about his business. I looked back at him and my eyes fell on his shoes. The shoes seemed pullover boots, a cross between sneakers and boots. No laces, no zippers, just pullover boots, pants tucked into the top, military style. The same held true for the leader and the others. As we walked into the control room, the checkerboard was solid silver in color. The leader motioned me to the desk on the right of the panel. Cross between a TV screen and an open window was located in the center of the desk. The starlit sky was visible, and a silver disk of light moved closer into view. It was another object, like this, in flight. Only it looked much larger, immense. The leader spoke matter-of-factly. Below you, you will observe a rendezvous with a similar observance vehicle. It has come from an area you call South America. You will immediately perceive its size differential. It is conducting experiments in hydrodynamics at a location called the Salado River. Humans in the city of Rosario observed the ship on an experiment testing activity. It was only observed for a brief moment of time, and the sighting will soon be forgotten, probably identified and explained as an aircraft from the area of Santa Fe. Wait, what year was this? 78? I'll be right back. Well, just so happens that in the auction that I previously talked about in the last episode, I purchased a lot of these photos. There was one from Santa Fe. Now, Santa Fe, Argentina, 1977. And sure enough, looks like one of those top hat UFOs, something that actually showed up quite a few times in several photos that I have. Very interesting indeed. Also really cool that there's like this 3D sort of effect that he keeps talking about with the console. I don't know if that's too far ahead of, it's late 70s, early 80s. I mean, Isaac Asimov is pretty much rounded all the corners in terms of what's possible in science fiction. So this is nothing new in terms of an idea. Amazed by the information he told me, I looked at the size of the ship and its shape. The stars moved slowly past, almost at a crawl, as the 2 objects continued on. By 2, I mean the one I stood in and this larger disk. The leader then walked a few steps behind me and moved a chair just behind me, seemingly for my comfort, and I nodded, thanks, and sat down. In vain, or so it seemed, I asked once again, why show me? If you only knew how many others wish to see and confirm the things I see. And I was just cut off, not rudely, but patiently, almost with graciousness. We have initiated this contact with you for the benefit of those interested. Your request to be placed near your associate is considered inappropriate. Perhaps at a later date. Yes, we will continue our contact with you by way of direct observance procedures, meaning face-to-face contact as now. As I said before, you manifest patience and deliberation, qualities acceptable to the network. You must, however, guard your actions. There are those operatives within your investigative organizations who work for the suppression, who work not for your benefit, but solely for your demise. They seek in vain to destroy any chance or hope of contact. You encountered those operatives when the bar was carried by you to your associate. We were unable to ensure his safety, and you, by your deliberation, ensured yours. And the information you received, the intersectional data, was preliminary to much more to come. You will be a benefit, a factor in future preparations. By your actions and the safeguarding actions of your associates, you have done much to improve the continued possibilities of contact. It is not up to me, but rather will be left up to the network consensus. You do have our recommendation and support. Your associate, whom you talked with this evening, will observe our vehicles in operation at a later date. He will be notified. We have means to notify those we wish to notify anytime, anywhere. Patience will be his reward. In regard to the bar, we have been authorized to give solely and without favor to you. It, as was stated, is a gift of respect and appreciation. You are one of the few to receive such a bar. It has much value to us, though is regarded worthless to you, and when value is estimated according to your primitive measure of comprehension. To decipher the meaning is to understand our meaning. This all sounds, I'm on the fence here, because this whole, you're the chosen one type deal is a little convenient. But also, I want to know what happened to this bar. What's going on? Did we miss a part? Did we skip something? We're going to have to look into that after, folks. I wondered aloud where we were, and as if to answer, the leader spoke. There is no need to inculcate. Inculcate? I really got to look up this word. It keeps coming up here. Also, how good is Bill Herrmann's memory that he can recall an entire briefing from this alien? Oh, inculcate. Oh, you guys probably reamed me in the last video. I'm recording this before the other one's posted, so I probably mispronounced that one and butchered it. But we learned. And what does this mean exactly? Quick word of advice for anybody reading out there. This is good practice. If you don't know a word, don't pretend you know it. You're not doing anyone any favors, including yourself. Look it up. That's what it's there for. Teach and impress by frequent repetitions or values into younger. Okay. So just like to repetitively teach someone is to inculcate. It's a good word. I might use it from now on. Look for that word to appear on a podcast near you. Once I'm a guest, I'm gonna pull like a Jesse Michaels and pull one of these wild words out and just leave you dumbfounded. He does that, by the way. I appreciate it because I get to learn where I'm editing the podcast and I'm like, what the heck does that mean? My turn, baby. All right. Also, sorry for I keep droning on. But the whole there are people who are basically within your organization, and it all seems very convenient that you're calling it. He might have people in his crosshairs, you know what I mean? Before and just noted, I'm still, not judging. I'm just saying this also sort of lowers conviction a little bit for me, anyways. There is no need to inculcate. Inculcate? How is it inculcate if it's an I? That's what they're saying here, though, huh? Inculcate, yeah.
Inculcate.
Oh, no, inculcate. It's UHNG, sounds like. I'm not even kidding. If you write the word in, inculcate. Man. All right, we're learning. There is no need to inculcate loss of memory in regard to this evening's occurrences and events. Is that the right meaning of the word in this sentence? Wouldn't it be incur? There's no need to incur loss of memory in regard? All right. I'm moving on. All right, I'm over it. A fact will be your ability to recall. Would you wish to observe the lights of your manned spacecraft center complex? I looked at the screen. Off to the left, you will observe what is called Florida. And there is your assembly area building. Toys that delight our interest. It is ironic that your space center is near an ocean. Where we come from, our operational vehicle lies near an ocean also, though consistent 1/4 of water as you perceive liquid. We will now be turning. I looked at the screen and I was able to see lights of a city below in the darkness. Then there was a motion to my right and an occupant stepped forward and bent down, looking at a set of lights and what resembled dials. Then the occupant walked over to the leader and both stood facing each other. I heard an indescribable sound. The leader looked at me and I turned looking at him and he spoke, "We are being observed by individuals below who are driving on a roadway." I wondered who, what, where, and the leader paused, apparently watching my reaction. It was obvious. This turn of events was leaving me in a state of utter astonishment. He spoke up again. "We will slow down so you can observe reactions to our presence. You may find it interesting." I looked down at the instruments as the checkerboard lit up and grew bright. The occupants in the room moved back and forth in an organized pattern. A slight humming sound was heard in an echo-like sound. I couldn't hear where it came from. Again, the leader spoke. The screen showed a Pinto station wagon in front and a Buick Electra behind it. Both cars pulled off the road. A lady was standing at the driver's side of the Pinto, and a man was standing on the driver's side of the Buick. The screen then moved up to a close-up picture. I felt less than 5 feet away. The look on the faces will be with me for a long time. The leader spoke. "Do you recall such wonder expressed? We will now move upward. Notice the change in their expressions as we move forward. Observe the woman get into her car. The man will do likewise." Even though inside the object, I couldn't detect motion. Sure enough, the woman ran around to the passenger side and jumped in, locking her door. The man calmly opened his door and got in, locking the door. This is wild. So he's showing Bill, and he's pointing to people that are pointing at the saucer, and he's like, "Look at their reactions, these humans." This is absolutely wild. This is kind of nuts. This is artist Jacques P. Drabier's impression of the scene aboard the Alien ET spacecraft when the Reticulean being showed Bill Herrmann a scene on the ground below them, where their ship had been spotted by people in 2 cars who had stopped and gotten out for a better look. Bill was shown how to adjust the device to zoom in on the scene for a close-up look. This all seems very anthropomorphic to me, this technology, but alas, we continue. So the leader speaks again. "A 2-foot scanning will show her holding the lockdown. The man will just sit and watch. A useless gesture on their part if we wish to direct observe. But this is not our purpose. We will now continue on our way. We are now coming up over your home state." I was then motioned to come with the leader. I walked up towards the doorway. We walked away, and then walked into the closet-like room, and the back door closed. And after 4 or 5 seconds, opened directly in front of us, and we were in a propulsion area. It was identical to the room I saw on March 18th, thus adding to my confirmation that this vehicle was the same one as before. I asked about the propulsion and was told that I couldn't comprehend it, even if it was explained to me in physical formula. A combination of gravity/equilibrium manipulation by electromagnetic energy mass conversion within a unified field of positive and negative particle beam fusion based on principles beyond your present technological capability, he said. Well, that sounds an awful lot like what we're trying to dissect here with this technology. So, points for Bill explaining the technology that he witnessed. We then walked out of the propulsion area into the closet-like area, and after about 5 seconds, walked out and back into the hallway. Walking back down the hallway, we turned into the Inculcation chamber, the examining room, and I was asking questions about the energy used to operate the vehicle. The leader spoke quite emphatically. "It is a paradox that your society loses energy resources. The multitudes of lights that use energy continue to operate even after the light of your sunrise. In that regard, your energy resources are many, but your scientists seem to ignore the most beneficial source. But enough. Our time together is over. I was motioned to lie down. The leader took my right arm and, in an apparent gesture of friendship, concluded our conversation. The transference beam will place you near your car. We trust this mutual exchange of information has been agreeable. Remember our words. Weigh them carefully. Go and rest. We will meet again. The bar of lights on the ceiling began flashing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There was an intense feeling of relaxation, and the next thing I knew, I was standing next to my car, and the disc was rising upward slowly. This is the bottom view of the disc. So there's this corona that did not touch the ship, this circle of light that was floating underneath it. Very interesting. And it had an orange-like glow, and the above disc was shimmering near bluish. Okay, and then it had flashing and spinning lights. Just a whole light show going on here. And what's interesting, too, is that you have the top going one way, apparently, like rotating one way, and the bottom part, or at least the three bell-shaped protrusions underneath of it, rotating the opposite way. And this is something, we heard from Udo Wartena. It's something we hear time and time again from a lot of stories that, there's this counter-rotation that might have something to do, with the propulsion. Interesting. Well, let's see what Colonel Stevens makes of this. The other disc was at a higher altitude. Then the two discs maneuvered next to each other, and both then, in a blur of soundless motion, were gone. I stood there, all alone, listening to the silence. A feeling of relief and great thirst came over me. I got in my car and drove home. When I got home, it was 4:15 to 4:20 a.m. I don't recall exactly, but I called Wendell Stevens in Tucson and drank 2 pitchers of Kool-Aid, took a shower, and went to bed. I was emotionally drained. This bothered me. And that ended Bill's summary of the second abduction, this time voluntary, a trip which he willingly undertook to try to get more information. I myself was greatly relieved also, and was happy to make all the calls necessary to call off the arrangements made earlier in case Bill had an opportunity to stay longer. Much like Valentich's opportunity. The sightings and the telepathic transmission continued at a frequency of nearly twice per week, for some time. He also continued to receive the strange symbols in the alien written form by automatic writing, but was still unable to read it. During these extensive conversations Bill had with the ETs, the alien ETs, he never saw their mouths open at any time, even when they were talking, though he was sure he was hearing the sounds with his ears and not telepathically, which he was by now familiar with. He heard those sounds audibly, like surround stereo. We discussed the possible use of a translator device that converted their speech to our language and broadcast it through speakers, but he saw no evidence of any speaker system. He looked closer at the ET's hands this time, and not only confirmed the earlier observation, but added to it. They did not have fingernails. And the fingers seemed to be extended and retracted at will. Ew. Gross. The ends of the fingers were slender and slightly curved. They were articulated differently also, and although slender when extended, seemed strong for their size. Ew, their gangly little thin, long fingers can stretch out. Gross. The instrument panels aboard the ship did not have switches and knobs like those we are accustomed to, but more like touch panels. Ooh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Now we're talking about technology that's definitely ahead of its time.